Sunday. Happy Sunday. Happy Sunday. Sorry about that. Golly. My wife's cold got me. I ain't gonna lie, but I'm gonna do this read today regardless. Oh, man. Oh, man. Chat, it's day 71. Oh, man, it's day 71, chat. It's day 71, chat. Let's get to this page. We're on the 11th. We're 2 days early. Thank you for joining me. I was not going to let anything stop me from reading this. I just needed some rest. We're going to be reading today from Numbers 15, 17 through 16, and in verse 40. Mark 15, 1 through 47. Psalms 54, 1 through 7. And then Proverbs 11, 5 through 6. Without further ado, I'm going to get to reading because I need to go lay back down, you know? And I got some other thing I have to do too, but do not read this with y'all. Hope y'all enjoy. It's day 71, and thank you for joining me. So without further ado, Numbers 15, 17 through 16, ending on verse 40. Then the Lord said to Moses, give the following instructions to the people of Israel. When you're arriving in the land where I'm taking you, you eat the crops that grow there, you must set some aside as a sacred offering to the Lord. Present a cake from the first of the flour you grind, and set it aside as a sacred offering, as you do with the first grain from the threshing flour. Throughout the generations to come, you are to present a sacred offering to the Lord each year from the first of your ground flour. But suppose you unintentionally fail to carry out these commands that the Lord has given you through Moses. And suppose your descendants in the future fail to do everything the Lord has commanded through Moses. If the mistake was made unintentionally and the community was unaware of it, the whole community must present a young bull for a burnt offering as a pleasing aroma to the Lord. It must be offered along with the prescribed grain offering and liquid offering and with one male goat for a sin offering. With it, the priest will purify the whole community of Israel, making them right with the Lord, and they will be forgiven, for it was an unintentional sin, and they have corrected it with their offerings to the Lord, the special gift and the sin offering. The whole community of Israel will be forgiven, including the foreigners among you, for all the people were involved in a sin. If one individual commits an unintentional sin, the guilty person must bring a 1-year-old female goat for a sin offering. The priest will sacrifice it to purify the guilty person before the Lord, and that person will be forgiven. These same instructions apply to both native-born Israelites and to foreigners living among you. But those who brazenly violate the Lord's will, whether native-born Israelites or foreigners, have blasphemed the Lord, and they must be cut off from the community. Since they have treated the Lord's word with contempt and deliberately disobeyed his command, they must be completely cut off and suffer the punishment from their guilt. One day, while the people of Israel were in the wilderness, they discovered a man gathering wood on the Sabbath day. The people found him doing this, took him before Moses, Aaron, and the rest of the community. They held him in custody because they did not know what to do with him. Then the Lord said to Moses, the man must be put to death. The whole community must stone him outside the camp. So the whole community took the man outside the camp and stoned him to death. This is the Lord had commanded Moses. Then the Lord said to Moses, give the following instructions to the people of Israel. Throughout the generations to come, you must take tassels for the hems of your clothing and attach them with a blue cord. When you see the tassels, you will remember and obey all the commands of the Lord instead of following your own desires and of following yourselves, as you are prone to do. The tassels will help you remember that you must obey all my commands and be holy to your God. I am the Lord your God, who brought you out of the land of Egypt, that I might be your God. I am the Lord your God. One day Korah, son of Izhar, a descendant of Kohath, son of Levi, conspired with Dathan and Abraham, the son of Eliab, and own son of Peleth, from the tribe of Reuben. They incited a rebellion against Moses, along with 250 leaders of the community, all prominent members of the assembly. They united against Moses and Aaron and said, you have gone too far. The whole community of Israel has been set apart by the Lord, and he is with all of us. What right do you have to act? Hey, how you doing? Hey, thank you. Appreciate that, Bills. How you doing, Dark Angel? Andrew Vallejo. Thank you. Good morning. Good evening to you. Thank you for joining. As though you're greater than the rest of the Lord's people. When Moses heard what they were saying, he fell face down on the ground. Then he said to Korah and his followers, tomorrow morning the Lord will show us who belongs to him and who is holy. The Lord will allow only those whom he selects to enter his own presence. Korah, you and all your followers must prepare your incense burners, light fires in them tomorrow, and burn incense before the Lord. Then we will see whom the Lord chooses as his holy one. You Levites are the ones who have gone too far. Then Moses spoke again to Korah. Now listen, you Levites. Does it seem insignificant to you that the God of Israel has chosen you from among all the community of Israel to be near him so you can serve in the Lord's tabernacle and stand before the people to minister to them? Korah, he has already given this special ministry to you and your fellow Levites. Are you now demanding the priesthood as well? The Lord is the one you and your followers are really revolting against. For who is Aaron that you're complaining about him? Then Moses summoned Dathan and Abiram, the sons of Eliab. But they replied, we refuse to come before you. Isn't it enough that you brought us out of Egypt, a land flowing with milk and honey, to kill us here in the wilderness, and that you not treat us like your subjects? What's more, you haven't brought us into another land flowing with milk and honey. You haven't given us a new homeland with fields and vineyards. Are you trying to fool these men? We will not come. Then Moses became very angry and said to the Lord, do not accept their grain offering. I have taken so much as a donkey from them, and I have never hurt a single one of them. And Moses said to Korah, you and all your followers must come here tomorrow and present yourselves before the Lord. Aaron will also be here. You and each of your 250 followers must prepare an incense burner and put incense on it, so you can all present them before the Lord. Aaron will also bring his incense burner. So each of these men prepared an incense burner, lit the fire and placed incense on it. Then they all stood at the entrance of the tabernacle with Moses and Aaron. Meanwhile, Korah had stirred up the entire community against Moses and Aaron, and they all gathered at the tabernacle entrance. Then the glorious presence of the Lord appeared to the whole community, and the Lord said to Moses and Aaron, get away from all these people, so that I may instantly destroy them. But Moses and Aaron fell face down on the ground. Oh God, they pleaded, you are the God who gives breath to all creatures. Must you be angry with all the people when only one man sins? And the Lord said to Moses, then tell all the people to get away from the tents of Korah, Dathan, and Abiram. So Moses got up and rushed over to the tents of Dathan, Abiram, and followed by the leaders of Israel. Quick, he told the people, get away from the tents of the wicked men, and don't touch anything that belongs to them. If you do, you will be destroyed for their sins. So all the people stood back from the tents of Korah, Dathan, and Abiram. Then Dathan and Abiram came out and stood at the entrances of their tents, together with their wives and children and little ones. And Moses said, this is how you will know that the Lord has sent me to do all these things that I have done, for I have not done them on my own. If these men die a natural death, or if nothing unusual happens, then the Lord has not sent me. But if the Lord does something entirely new, and the ground opens his mouth and swallows them and all their belongings, and they go down alive into the grave, then you will know that these men have shown contempt before the Lord. He had hardly finished speaking the words when the ground suddenly split open beneath them. The earth opened its mouth and swallowed the men, along with their households and all their followers, who were standing with them, and everything they owned. So they went down alive into the grave, along with all their belongings. The earth closed over them, and they vanished from among the people of Israel. All the people around them fled when they heard their screams. The earth will swallow us too, they cried. Then fire blazed forth from the Lord, and burned up those 250 men who were offering incense. And the Lord said to Moses, tell Eleazar, son of Aaron, the priest, to pull all the incense burners from the fire, for they are holy. And also tell him to scatter the burning coals. Take the incense burners of these men who have sinned at the cost of their lives, and hammer the metal into a thin sheet to overlay the altar. Since the burners were used in the Lord's presence, they have become holy. Let them serve as a warning to the people of Israel. So Eleazar, the priest, collected the 250 bronze incense burners that had been used by the men who had died in the fire. And the bronze was hammered into a thin sheet to overlay the altar. This would warn the Israelites that no unauthorized person, no one who was not a descendant of Aaron, should ever enter the Lord's presence to burn incense. If anyone did, the same thing would happen to him as happened to Korah and his followers. So the Lord's instructions to Moses were carried out. And now, chat, Hey, thank you, Andrew. Appreciate that. Hey, Troxon, how you doing? And now Mark, chat Mark 15, 1 through 47. Very early in the morning, the leading priests, the elders, and the teachers of religious law, the entire high council, met to discuss their next step. They bound Jesus, led him away, and took him to Pilate, the Roman governor. Pilate asked Jesus, "Are you the king of the Jews?" Jesus replied, "You have said it." Then the leading priests kept accusing him of many crimes. And Pilate asked him, "Aren't you going to answer them? What about all these charges they are bringing against you?" But Jesus said nothing to Pilate's surprise. Now it was the governor's custom each year during the Passover celebration to release one prisoner, anyone the people requested. One of the prisoners at that time was Barabbas, a revolutionary who had committed murder in an uprising. The crowd went to Pilate and asked him to release a prisoner as usual. Would you like me to release to you this king of Jews?" Pilate asked. For he realized by now that the leading priest had arrested Jesus out of envy. But at this point, the leading priest stirred up the crowd to demand the release of Barabbas instead of Jesus. Pilate asked him, "Then what should I do with this man you call the king of Jews?" They shouted back, "Crucify him." "Why," Pilate demanded, "what crime has he committed?" But the mob roared even louder, "Crucify him." So to pacify the crowd, Pilate released Barabbas to them. He ordered Jesus flogged with a lead-tipped whip. Then he turned him over to the Roman soldiers to be crucified. The soldiers took Jesus into the courtyard of the governor's headquarters, called the Praetorium, and called out the entire regiment. They dressed him in a purple robe, and they wove thorn branches into a crown and put it on his head. Then they saluted him and taunted, "Hail, King of the Jews!" And they struck him on the head with a reed stick, spit on him, and dropped to their knees in mock worship. When they were finally tired of mocking him, they took off the purple robe and put his own clothes on him again. Then they led him away to be crucified. A passerby named Simon, who was from Cyrene, was coming into the countryside just then, and the soldiers forced him to carry Jesus' cross. Simon was the father of Alexander and Rufus. And they brought Jesus to a place called Golgotha, which means place of the skull. They offered him wine drugged with myrrh, and he refused it. Then the soldiers nailed him to the cross. They divided his clothes and threw dice to decide who would get each piece. It was 9 o'clock in the morning when they crucified him. A sign announced the charge against him. It read, "The King of the Jews." 2 revolutionaries were crucified with him, one on his right and one on his left. The people passing by shouted abuse, shaking their heads in mockery. "Ha, look at you now," they yelled at him. "You said you were going to destroy the temple and rebuild it in 3 days. Well then, save yourself and come down from the cross." The leading priests and the teachers of religious law also mocked Jesus. "He saved others," they scoffed, "but he can't save himself. Let this Messiah, this King of Israel, come down from the cross so we can all see it and believe him." Even the men who were crucified with Jesus ridiculed him. At noon, darkness fell across the whole land until 3 o'clock. Then at 3 o'clock, Jesus called out with a loud voice, "Eloi, Eloi, lema sabachthani," which means, my God, why have you abandoned me?" Some of the bystanders misunderstood and thought he was calling for the prophet Elijah. One of them ran and filled a sponge with sour wine, holding it up to him on a reed stick so he can drink. "Wait," he said. "Let's see whether Elijah comes to take him down." Then Jesus uttered another loud cry and breathed his last. And then the curtain in the sanctuary of the temple was torn in two from top to bottom. When the Roman officer who stood facing him saw how he had died, he exclaimed, "This man was truly the Son of God." Some women were there watching from a distance, including Mary Magdalene, Mary the mother of James, the younger, and of Joseph, and Salome. They had been followers of Jesus and had cared for him while he was in Galilee. Many of the women who had come with him to Jerusalem were also there. This all happened on Friday, the day of preparation, the day before the Sabbath. As evening approached, Joseph of Arimathea took a risk and went to Pilate and asked him for Jesus' body. Joseph was an honored member of the high council, and he was waiting for the kingdom of God to come. Pilate couldn't believe that Jesus was already dead, so he called for the Roman officer and asked if he had died yet. The officer confirmed that Jesus was dead, so Pilate told Joseph that he could have the body. Joseph bought a long sheet of linen cloth. Then he took Jesus' body down from the cross, wrapped it in the cloth, and laid it in a tomb that had been carved out of rock. Then he rolled a stone in front of the entrance. Mary Magdalene and Mary, the mother of Joseph, saw where Jesus' body was laid. And now, thank you for the likes. But Jesus Christ, for God so loved the world, he gave his only begotten Son. Yes, sir. And now, chat, let's get into Psalms 54, 1 through 7. "Come with great power, O God, and rescue me. Defend me with your might. Listen to my prayer, O God. Pay attention to my plea. For strangers are attacking me. Violent people are trying to kill me. They care nothing for God. But God is my helper. The Lord keeps me alive. May the evil plans of my enemies be turned against them. Do as you promised and put an end to them. I will sacrifice a voluntary offering to you. I will praise your name, O Lord, for it is good. For you have rescued me from my troubles and helped me to triumph over my enemies. And now chat, Proverbs 11:5-6. The godly are directly by honesty. The wicked fall beneath their load of sin. The godliness of good people rescues them. The ambition of treacherous people traps them. What is my favorite Bible verse? My favorite Bible verse, I can do all things, obviously. That's the best Bible verse there is. The Roman officer who knew. The Roman officer who knew. Sometimes we can tell we are in the presence of someone truly great, and we can sense they are doing great things. Others try to impress us, but we know they're fake. On the other hand, many of us don't recognize the truth in us, and we fail to realize God's presence. On the day of the crucifixion, a Roman officer recognized that Jesus was not just another man. He knew this man was truly the Son of God. Mark 15:39. Take a moment today to recognize who Jesus is. Oh. I felt really good while I was reading, but here comes the body pain, brother. Okay. Okay, let's read that one more time, chat. Isaiah chapter 1. Hey, that's your favorite verse, Andrew? The Roman officer who knew. Sometimes we can tell we're in the presence of someone truly great, and we can sense they're doing great things. Others try to impress us, but we know they're fake. On the other hand, many of us don't recognize the truth in us, in front of us, and we fail to realize God's presence. On the day of the crucifixion, a Roman officer recognized that Jesus was not just another man. He knew this man was truly the Son of God. Mark 15:39. Take a moment today to recognize who Jesus is. Okay, chat. And chat, that was our 1-year Bible read for day 71. Okay, so chat. My favorite verse is Matthew 28:19. Okay, I'm gonna have to look these verses up and then read them. I'm not gonna say I'm like a Bible scholar. I'm doing my first full read of the Bible. I just wanted to know and gain the wisdom of that God was trying to give me, and it was time to stop putting it off. So I decided to do this 1-year Bible read for the year. I got it for Christmas. It wasn't even my gift. It wasn't even my gift. It was someone else's gift, and then they gave it to me. And then I was like, I have no excuse not to read this word, So, but you see how even the people who Jesus saved, the people who Jesus helped, they turned their back on him, right? But there was one person in this story here who knew who Jesus was, and it was somebody who wasn't even on Jesus' side of the reins. It was Pilate. He knew who Jesus was. He could see Jesus' presence, right? So when people are bringing you something, right, that you need, if you to go for and make disciples of, it's to go therefore and make disciples of. Okay. But Pilate knew, right? He could see Jesus' presence. He knew who Jesus was. It didn't take him being a part of anything that Jesus was a part of. He knew who Jesus was. He could sense who Jesus was. Now, how about we stop asking that we can't sense the presence of God, right? God's presence is among all of us, right? God is with you at all times. So let's today stop acting like we don't know what the presence of God is. God is here with you to lead you and guide you in the right direction. So let's be led. Let's be led. And that is the end of our 1 Year Bible read for day 71. If you enjoyed today's read, I implore you to subscribe, like, and comment for day 72. And we will be doing this for 365 days all year long. Thank you for joining me, and I appreciate you. You have a great one. But if it's your first time here, let's hit this outro. We all got that limitless core, baby. I appreciate you. I might even love you, but I'm for sure glad you woke up today. And thank you for joining me. I'm going to see you next time. And peace.